Guthrum or Guthrum, christened Æthelstan on his conversion to Christianity in 878, was king of the Danish Vikings in the Danelaw. He is mainly known for his conflict with Alfred the Great. Guthrum, founder of the Danelaw. It is not known how Guthrum consolidated his rule as king over the other Danish chieftains of the Danelaw, but we know that by 874 he was able to wage a war against Wessex and its king, Alfred. In 875 the Danish forces, then under Guthrum and Halfdan Ragnarsson, divided, Halfdan's contingent returning north to Northumbria, while Guthrum's forces went to East Anglia, quartering themselves at Cambridge for the year. By 876, Guthrum had acquired various parts of the kingdoms of Mercia and Northumbria and then turned his attention to acquiring Wessex, where his first confrontation with Alfred took place on the south coast. Guthrum sailed his army around Poole Harbour and linked up with another Viking army that was invading the area between the Froom and Piddle rivers, which was ruled by Alfred. According to the historian Guthrum won his initial battle with Alfred, and he captured the castellum as well as the ancient square earthworks known as the Wareham, where there was a convent of nuns. Alfred successfully brokered a peace settlement, but by 877 this peace was broken as Guthrum led his army raiding further into Wessex, thus forcing Alfred to confront him in a series of skirmishes that Guthrum continued to win. At Exeter, which Guthrum had also captured, Alfred made a peace treaty, with the result that Guthrum left Wessex to winter in Gloucester. Surprise attack. On Epiphany, the 6th of January 878, Guthrum made a surprise nighttime attack on Alfred and his court at Chippenham, Wiltshire. It being a Christian feast day, the Saxons were presumably taken by surprise. Indeed, it is possible that Wulfhere, the ealdorman of Wiltshire, allowed the attack either through negligence or intent. For on Alfred's return to power later in 878, Wulfhere was stripped of his role as ealdorman. Alfred fled the attack with a few retainers and took shelter in the marshes of Somerset, staying in the small village of Athelney. Over the next few months he built up his force and waged a guerrilla war against Guthrum from his fastness in the fens. After a few months Alfred called his loyal men to Egbertstone, and from there they travelled to Edington to fight the invaders. Defeat by Alfred. Guthrum's hopes of conquering all of Wessex came to an end with his defeat at the hands of Alfred at the Battle of Edington in 878. At Edington, Guthrum's entire army was routed by Alfred's and fled to their encampment, where they were besieged by Alfred's FYRD for 2 weeks. According to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, Guthrum's army was able to negotiate a peace treaty known as the Treaty of Wedmore. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle recorded the event. Then the raiding army granted him hostages and great oaths that they would leave his kingdom, and also promised him that their king would receive baptism, and they fulfilled it. And 3 weeks later the king Guthrum came to him, one of 30 of the most honourable men who were in the raiding army, at Allay, and that is near Athelney, and the king received him at baptism, and his chrism losing was at Wedmore. Quote, Conversion to Christianity and peace. Under the Treaty of Wedmore, the borders dividing the lands of Alfred and Guthrum were established, and perhaps more importantly, Guthrum converted to Christianity and took on the Christian name Æthelstan with Alfred as his godfather. Guthrum's conversion to Christianity served as an oath, a legal binding to the treaty, making its significance more political than religious. Politically, of course, Guthrum's conversion to Christianity did nothing to loosen the Danish hold on the lands that Guthrum had already acquired via conquest. Instead, it not only garnered Guthrum recognition among Christian communities he ruled, but also legitimized his own authority and claims. By adopting the Christian name of Æthelstan, which was also the name of Alfred's eldest brother, Guthrum's conversion reassured his newly acquired subjects that they would continue to be ruled by a Christian king rather than a heathen chieftain. Guthrum upheld his end of the treaty and left the boundary that separated the Danelaw from English England unmolested. Guthrum, although failing to conquer Wessex, turned towards the lands to the east that the treaty had allotted under his control, free of interference by Alfred. Guthrum withdrew his army from the western borders facing Alfred's territory and moved eastward before eventually settling in the kingdom of Guthrum, in East Anglia in 879. He lived out the remainder of his life there until his death in 890. According to the Annals of St. Neots, a chronicle compiled in Bury St. Edmunds, Guthrum was buried at Headlage, which is usually identified as Hadley, Suffolk. Popular culture. Guthrum appears in several works of fiction, including A.K. Chesterton's poem The Ballad of the White Horse. See Walter Hodges' juvenile historical novels The Namesake and The Marsh King. Bernard Cornwell's first three novels of the Saxon Stories series The Last Kingdom, and The Pale Horseman and Sword Song. On screen, he was played by Brian Blessed in King Alfred, Episode 4 of Churchill's People, by Michael York in the 1969 film Alfred the Great, and Thomas W. Gabrielson in The Last Kingdom.